Hello there. I hope your holiday season is quite cozy. Now, the holidays have always been a time to relax, kick back, and reflect on the rest of the year, especially on the atrociously low amount of videos I've uploaded. So there's a reason people call me a nerd. It's because, I'm quite the fan of video games. If this video doesn't say anything, calmly, here's every video game I've played in 2022. I've beaten all of these games, at least to the ending. Now I will mention, not all of these are new games that released within this year. I needed to get into my backlog sometime. Most of them are old actually, and I've really been looking forward to making this video. So please, sit back, relax, and enjoy the gift of me ranting about every video game I've enjoyed this year. Cheers.
We're starting off in a territory I never thought I'd enter, but hey, Fire Emblem, the game that took over Smash Bros. So, in reality, what's it like? Three Houses has been the most famous, so I figured why not enter it here. This game is really just 3D chess that makes you think really critically about every action. It captures the war vibe well, at least from the Blue Lions, which is the only route I took at this current moment, and helps you get super in depth with a wide array of characters that seem like a basic archetype at first, but get deeper backstories and develop better as they continue. Sometimes certain tasks and interactions got repetitive and some characters were bland, but overall those problems were overshadowed by the great parts of this game. With a new gameplay style, it fascinated me and inclined me to look into the world of Fire Emblem. I didn't think I'd like strategizing as much as this. I loved all the boss fights. The magical yet realistic aspects of this game somehow meshed really well and took me by surprise. I think the biggest selling point for me was the option of permanent character death, which made every single decision count. If you put a lot of effort into one character, you're gonna want them to survive, but they still might die, so you gotta make sure you keep care of them. I've never felt more relieved, nervous, and excited from glorified chess before. I'm joking, by the way. This form of game is surprisingly really fun, and I discovered just how important strategy is in a video game. And honestly, after playing this game, I think I know why Byleth deserved his spot in Smash Bros. Hey, wait. Spider-Man Miles Morales is a lot shorter of a Spider-Man game, but sweet and to the point. It captured everything about Miles Morales and his powers effectively and truly made me feel like Spider-Man. I would have changed up the designs a little personally, and there are some interactions and enemies that I got genuinely annoyed at. I'm talking about the underground brutes, the challenge timers, some of the crimes, some of the Roxxon labs. But overall it was a beautiful looking and an even better feeling experience. It was just a very short story, but still pretty solid throughout. There aren't too many incentives other than suits, which get you to the side quests as well, but I love most of the suits. It blew me away on PlayStation 4, and the graphics took me swinging on PlayStation 5. And I'm just saying, on PlayStation 5, the time it takes to fast travel is absolutely nothing! I know it was short, but again, I still liked the story, and nothing can top Insomniac's amazing Spider-Man gameplay. It's an astonishingly fun game for how short it is. Yuffie's little side quest is exactly what a DLC should be. Although there are a few points that I was picky about, the roller coaster with this was phenomenal. Again, as it should be. The amount of callbacks to previous Final Fantasy content without it feeling forced is, again, amazing. Sonon is a really great character, and Nero's fight was phenomenal. Being the first PlayStation 5 exclusive I played, the graphics took me away, and it took advantage of the PlayStation hardware perfectly while still feeling like Final Fantasy. Yuffie's playstyle was phenomenal, the synergy attacks were second to none, and the bosses are super engaging. Fort Condor is fun, but I can't play it for too long. It's probably just a personal thing. Definitely a great game to start out with on the PlayStation 5. The extra content for the main game as well just added on so much more, and Weiss, once you figure him out, is actually a really fun boss. Is it Weiss or is it Weiss? I'm horrible with pronunciation, and I'm not going to bother to look it up. It's been a long time since I've delved into a Ratchet & Clank game.
I don't know what it is about this year, and just hitting me with really good games. What the
Being my first completed, full-on PlayStation 5 game, I had high expectations. There was not a moment that this game let me down. Every piece of it, from the story to the puzzles to the ingenious armory of weapons that were a blast to play with, it was not once repetitive. I've just got to mention, the adaptive triggers were used so well here. The bonuses were amazing, I loved every reference, and the fact that all the characters and upgrades weren't locked behind from the get-go, giving you the option to see the game as you see fit, amazing. I was surprisingly engaged in the story, especially with Kit. Kit and Rivet's relationship was a fascinating development. The one nitpick that this game did have was a few times that it repeatedly killed me with the seemingly little reason, or sometimes I was just soft-locked because I missed a jump. Yet the rest of the game, the pristine graphics, and the restart from checkpoint button overshadowed that. Probably my favorite Ratchet & Clank game yet. I don't really know if Astro's Playroom should count, but this thing is actually a really funny and pretty entertaining tech demo. It's super simplistic, and I will admit it got very annoying with how much it holds your hand, but the references and worlds show off the PS5 and its controller very, very nicely. The callback to the T-Rex was pretty cool as well, and the collectibles might actually make it repeatable. The only reason it gets a 7 is how annoying it got with the tutorials and pop-ups, and also with how short it is. I can't really put it on the level that an actual game has, but it's an awesome tech demo and actually worthwhile to play all the way through. Pokemon Legends Arceus was the fresh, new, inspiring take on Pokemon that I needed to reignite my childish, nostalgic side. It's very much divided like Monster Hunter, and such an awesome game to throw into the mix of Pokemon. Gameplay is phenomenal, and the Pokemon truly do feel alive, even in battle. Most Hisuian forms were badass, and catching was super satisfying. Personally, I'm a Pokedex filler, so I like to just throw Pokeballs at stuff. Perfect game for me. I love just frolicking around, throwing and crafting Pokeballs left and right. And the music, as is classic with Pokemon, hits in the places that it should. Jubilife Village is probably my favorite. The boss fights were pretty fun and challenging too. I liked the strategical Dark Souls dodging-esque gameplay. It definitely didn't work sometimes, but it was still fun. The only problems I'd say I have with it are a few of the Hisuian forms are really not that good and mess with the original love I had for some of the Pokemon, and then others were just ingenious. The graphics, especially when flying on a Braviary, weren't up to a huge standard at times. Honestly, that didn't bother me as much. And finally, one of my nitpicks, some of the Pokemon just had laser vision. Like, I'm doing nothing and then boom, now I can't fast travel. I was also a tad underleveled at all times, and it turned out to be a bit more challenging than your regular Pokemon game. Of which I kinda liked, but also didn't at other points. Overall though, this makes me overly happy for the future of Pokemon. It's on my screen again. I suck ass at rhythm games, but in real life dancing games, I look good doing it, so I don't really mind. But going into Persona 5 dancing, I had an idea of what I was getting into. Just a bit more Persona, right? And yeah, that's pretty much what it was. How they tied it into the lore and made it canon through a story was kind of funny, but there really wasn't much here. The game itself had a variety of levels, but still felt lacking after going through all of them. It was a bit light on the content, but there's still a ton of basically useless customization. The system itself was fun and kind of flashy, but after a little while it doesn't feel as rewarding as other rhythm games. As much as it is funny to see Morgana and Ryuji in goofy ass outfits, you don't really end up paying attention to it. There's so much that goes into making it interesting looking that makes it seem so sad how much you pay attention to these notes. Yet I will say the gameplay and utilization of the controller is really well done. I'd assume that a rhythm game veteran would have a lot of fun with this game. That definitely felt cool, and for fans of rhythm games, I'd give it to them, but for such a series as Persona to target such a niche audience was kinda weird. I had fun with this game, but I wouldn't play it again out of the blue. If you're looking to purchase it, try and get it on sale. My, how sour it is to see this game off. Yeah, you all know by now that this is definitely a revisit, specifically in my February-March time, but hey, you did it, kid. You've done every single possible thing that there is to do in Persona 5 Royal. An end of an era it is. You know what you think of this game. It's beautiful, amazing, perfect for you, easily 10 out of 10. My favorite game of all time. There are definitely now, after 100%ing the game, a few annoying points I can pick out, like Phantom Tycoon or obtaining the Crystal Skull, but it is tremendously overshadowed by third semester and all New Game Plus boss fights, and hell, even the challenge battles that are way more annoying than they should have any right to be are actually amazing. Your experience is always just so customizable, and it's still as amazing as the first day I played. Jumping Taco is literally the most boring game I could have purchased. Like, I could have made this. Why am I so heated? It's a gag platinum trophy for $1.50. But again, it is comedy gold.
You know what? 10 out of 10.
So I decided to delve back into my childhood game of Pokemon Heart Gold to beat the Elite Four from my childhood playthrough, and I am so happy that I did. Yeah, I'm weird. My first Pokemon game, I never beat the Elite Four. Going back though, I realized just how much love I have for this game. Being able to jump straight into Kanto after this as well makes this such a finely polished Pokemon game that it's just unmatchable, even to the point where it's still hard to be challenged to this day. Without a doubt, this is still my favorite Pokemon game and shows the craft expertly. The only issues I would have with it would all involve speed. There's no true way to speed up a fight or text, making some parts of the game drag on well past when the moves are over or when words are said. It's a bit hard to keep track of, but especially with as crappy as a team as the younger me had, I was somehow left on the edge of this battle. It's kind of funny, but still. I do have to say, for Pokemon games, level grinding still ruins the experience for me though. You really don't need to do it, but I'm in no way a fan of that. Overall though, Pokemon Heart Gold is aged like fine wine, in the sense that it's just as good if not better as the day I left it. My priorities have changed a bit, but still, amazing. Man, I've been playing a lot of really renowned games this year, but It Takes Two was a new and fascinating experience that I was really not expecting. It was a lot more of a simple idea along with simple controls and puzzles in the beginning, but as it went on, it challenges the brain super well and in such a fascinatingly creative way. Playing this along with my player 2 made this such an amazing experience. Make sure you choose who you play it with wisely because you will get pissed, confused, excited, and happy together all at once, and still come out very refreshed. The set design was amazing, the characters felt great, and all around, I would say it was at least a rightful nomination for Game of the Year. Who am I kidding? It deserved it. The only issues I really had with it were Rose's glass tears crawling through a centipede, which was kind of disgusting, and the fact that May can only vocalize and not actually sing. I mean, come on. It just feels so awkward.
Wait a minute. I already did this year.
So I didn't exactly beat anything in Street Fighter V, but I came back to it in full force. I'd beaten the story mode before and a lot of the survival missions, so I didn't really have anything to do. If you need to see why I got hyped for this game, go watch my Street Fighter 6 video. I love so much about Street Fighter. From the comical style and awesome character selection, but man, this entry just feels so much like a cash grab. Like, yeah, the stories are pretty cool, but the cutscenes are kinda meh, and honestly, if it weren't for my friends, I think this would be a lower ranking. The main meat and potatoes of this game is definitely the top-notch Street Fighter, but man, everything else about this game was really weird. I liked the idea of it, but in practice, it didn't really satiate the $60 at launch, when it wants me to pay another $50 just to complete the roster. What I think could have fixed it would have been pricing the characters lower so each person can get maybe 5 or 6 in a stage, so the base game would actually be worth it today. But hey, overall you came here for the actual fighting, and in this game, it's still pretty good. If you end up wondering why this list is shorter than you think it should be, Elden Ring is the reason. As a Soulsblind player, I was horrified to go into this. I've now come out of this saying this is one of my favorite games of the decade, or at least so far. The wide array of classes and combat options, variety of bosses and themes, the drippy armor, and honestly, the world was so astonishingly amazing. There were a few jarring experiences. Today's gonna be the day, but then throw it back to you. Oh. But considering it's an open world adventure, there are so many ways to adapt around it that just make the experience feel a lot more personal. I adore the theming and undertones, the expansive lore, and honestly, the charming characters really sold it all. This is honestly as close to a 10 out of 10 as I can get, and even though I'll give it to it, there are still a few minor issues, as there is with anything. I'm quite curious to see how long it took me to beat my first 120 hours?
Wommy.
In reality, this is Splatoon, again. Or so you'd think. But honestly, now that 2 titles have gone by, they have nailed the third one. There are a few touches that can be easily touched up in a patch, but my god, this is my favorite Splatoon game by far. So for multiplayer, I live to see the catalog because it doesn't feel like a battle pass. The locker rewards are great, the tags are great, and I love shooting into the stage instead of just spawning, and especially starting out with 3 golden tickets made the game so much easier to pick up. I would say or ask to fix the constant change of maps and then make them last a little bit longer though. And tricolor battles are still broken because I can't access them, but Salmon Run is now always playable, which made me go over the moon. Honestly though, some of the challenge rounds really suck, such as the Firefly rounds, but overall, I still love this new Splatoon Salmon Run. And the story mode, full of twists. Overall, a tremendously enjoyable and sort of challenging experience. Also, I did spend a little bit of a problematic amount of time on Table Turf Battle. I enjoy it when I'm bored of the rest of the game, and can continue to level up my stuff for some time before hopping back in. All around, Splatoon 3 has a lot of potential and has already inked my expectations. I'm sorry Blizzard, but I realized nothing different. I main Lucio, Tracer, and Orisa. I'm definitely better as anything except for attack, don't get me wrong, but the way that they changed Orisa was actually really nice. She's a lot better, and honestly more fun to play. Of the new heroes, Junker Queen is my favorite, with a fun no healing dynamic so long as you can actually land your shots. Sojourn is super fun, and the slide jump is brokenly amazing. And then there's Kiriko, everybody's new favorite and overpowered at the current standing. I really hate how she was locked behind a battle pass though, and that's another thing, the battle pass. I'm really gonna miss loot boxes, but I'm happy that they don't have to gamble anymore. Overwatch 2 didn't release with all that they said it would, so it's a bit underwhelming, but they're at least polishing up the original game that was Overwatch. Even though it's not much different and it's still rough at times, it's as charming as before. But hey, I'm still waiting on the PvE. Yeah, Nintendo Switch Sports was definitely overhyped. I love Wii Sports, and having a huge soft spot for Wii Sports Resort, hearing about this was amazing. And then in reality, it failed to do much. The motion controls were seemingly more smooth at points, but also janky as well. But when you have basically 3 versions of tennis, considering they play so similarly, it gets super repetitive super fast. I appreciate bowling, and the new swords and oh, wait, my bad. Chambara is a cool dynamic. I didn't really like using anything other than the basic sword, but hey, they were still there. At least those 2 minigames are fine. Soccer was janky as hell though, and the Breath of the Wild meter was actually kind of funny. Anyway, this game is definitely still fun, but I wouldn't say worth 60. It's solid if you want to dick around for a bit, but there's other games that you can play with your friends that beat this one all of the time. Now, as I said in the beginning, I've beaten all these games, but this one, I haven't beaten yet. I know, but there's still a few of those I haven't beaten, but I've played enough to have an opinion on games on here. Like, 2. And this is one of them. To be honest though, there's not much that I can say that hasn't already been said about Hades. It's super fun, the combat is smooth, I love all the Greek mythology throwbacks, the characters are amazing, you're my boy Dionysus, and overall it's just a great roguelike. Am I good at it? Not in the slightest. The first real boss still kicks my ass consistently. I love messing with weapons and upgrade mixtures, and I'm a very big spear fan. So I would recommend this if you're looking for a fun, solid challenge. At the time I bought this, I wasn't really looking for it because I couldn't play it as consistently as I would have wanted to, but you know the game is good already. You don't need me to say anything else. So yeah, this game is on here twice.
But now I can play it while I'm pooping!
Anyway, I now own 4 physical copies of this game, and no, I did not give this another full playthrough. Mainly because after August, I definitely did not have the time, but at least from Kamoshida's Palace, I have some things to say about this port. There's a few smaller differences I've actually realized, such as some brightness changes and a tad bit of blur when things go into the distance, which bugs me ever so slightly, but what was sacrificed was made up for elsewhere. Where I realized what changed was in the cutscene sequences. Tell me if I'm just making a fool of myself, but it seems like there's a little bit more voiceover than before, and a bit more exploration with the introduction. I like that. The weakest part of Persona 5, other than the entirety of Okumura's palace, was always how drawn out the introduction felt. It's subtle and there really isn't much more, but there's some more interaction in there, I guess? Or at least it felt like it. And on a technical aspect, the new engine runs phenomenally, and condensed the game from around 60 gigabytes to below 20. That's truly impressive. Props to you, Atlas, however many times I have to say that. Okay, I'm not even sure if this one should count, but it's all over my TikTok For You page. I mean, come on, it's my singing monsters. I mean, in a similar way, I was inspired to start cosplaying this year because of TikTok, so I did an Angel Devil cosplay. Read Chainsaw Man, by the way. It's a really good anime too. That's for another video. And as I was saying before, for some reason my For You page was filled with these little goofy guys going bum, 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 bum. And I decided to relive my hopeful, younger mobile gaming days. Out of all the breed and weight type of mobile games, as I refer to them, this is my favorite. It's not just making these funny guys sing and develop their song, which is by far the most satisfying part, but now there's stuff like the Colosseum, which engage your monsters in Pokemon-like battles, where each move is a borderline case of copyright infringement. When there's nothing actively happening in the game, it's way too easy to get bored. And honestly, the price cap for so much of it is outrageous if you're just starting out. I'm only able to run a cold island and plant island right now, but it's way too expensive from the get-go to develop multiple of them. So having everything running at one time seems only like a dream. And boo to microtransactions. The game definitely is a slow burn that gets progressively more satisfying as you wait out the atrocious amount of hours. It's kinda designed to be like that. I've been especially busy in college and bouncing between film sets recently, so it's nice to see my little choir of goofily designed pocket monsters, not to be confused with Pokemon, develop every once in a while. And hey, I got a Ghast, and he's still my favorite. So yeah, in a technical point of view, this game definitely does not run well. The Switch doesn't have enough power to run it sometimes, but in my classic reviewing perspective, I like to look past that unless it truly interrupts my experience. Even though there were a few things that it took a little to get used to, it didn't bother me that much. But are you guys ready for a truly bold statement? This game is what I deem to as close to perfect as a Pokemon game as you can get. The new Pokemon are inspired, intriguing, and overall a joy to engage with. Tinkaton is a god. Gigaton Hammer is just broken. Anyway, the entire Palladia region is amazing. The battle mechanics go fast enough to engage efficiently and effectively, and create such a wonderful balance between battle, catching, and exploration. And don't get me started on the characters. Each of them, unlike many in previous games, have depth. There's also the whole group aspect to it, and the emotion that drives this story is just so well done and perfected Pokemon's craft. It did definitely feel like a shonen anime at times. Personally, Rika is my favorite character in this game, and that brings me to my next point. Both gym leaders and the members of the Elite Four are roped into the story, and they're not just exclusively gym leaders. And Team Star, bro. I actually like Team Star. The only problem I experienced in my run was my personal curiosity. I was definitely over-leveled because of how much time I spent trying to catch all the Pokemon around me, but that doesn't have to happen. It's completely up to the player. The online is really fun as well in my experience, but before I get to an even larger rant, and before this gets its own video, let me just say this. Pokemon Scarlet took the best things from Sword and Shield, Legends Arceus, and the original main titles while allowing you to create your own story, character, and an amazing amount of really cool teams. This is one Pokedex that I can't wait to complete. I completely forgot to put Multiversus down earlier, and honestly, that should say a little something about this game, I guess. Multiversus is definitely the next big-name platform fighter from a AAA company, aside from Smash Bros., and it has a ton of notable and growing names. I'm personally a Harley Quinn main, if that says anything. I played this game for a bit when it released, and was reminded of it while getting gameplay for these other titles on the list. Honestly, it's not that bad, but not all that good either. It's definitely fun, and power to you if you enjoy this, but I couldn't get into it as much as I wanted to. At least when I played, the connection issues were rampant, but upon revisits, they progressively got better. My main complaint is how much of an online sort of pay-to-win game this feels like. I understand it's free, and I understand there's ways to get characters for free, but it's the way it's set up, it just doesn't feel like it was made for the fun of it. It's definitely good enough, and the class system was a really cool idea. I really dig the whole 2v2 focus it has while allowing you to do more or less whenever you want. The characters were inspired, or at least most of them, and the names in here are absolutely awesome. I do have to admit though, the movement felt kinda stiff, and the whole control system felt a little off. I can't really pin a finger on it, but it just doesn't flow as naturally as other platform fighters. I'll give it enough credit to say it's definitely fun, but also just not my cup of tea when it comes to platform fighters. But at the end of the day, if you're really into it, give it a shot. It won't hurt as bad as Finn's backpack. Wait a minute, I know how to make this better. So, funny story about Persona 3 Portable, along with the fact that its artists were like second on my Spotify Wrapped. I had basically the entire thing beaten around the time that I finished Elden Ring, but as of writing this, I am still stuck on the final boss. I could rant about Nyx all day long, but honestly, I've seen the ending and spoiled myself a little bit for the end of the game. Though I've yet to actually burn the dread for myself, I have experienced this game enough to confidently write on it. And my god, did this game prove to me why I love the Persona series. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do in this game and a lot that you can experience, yet the game does at some point leave you completely in the dark about it. It does introduce curiosity, but at the same time, a little bit of guidance would have helped. I'd also pick out that there were a few times Tartarus got repetitive, as it can, but I still ended up loving it. Persona 3, in my opinion, has the coolest battle system in the series, and personally, it is my favorite music-wise. And the way they summon personas is a bit questionable, but it definitely helps to drive the story. I adore the different types of physical attacks and different abilities. They make every character special, which brings me again to the characters. Cease is an amazing squad with crazy engaging backstories and depth deeper than the whole shit. That's still too soon. Anyway, I loved this game so much. It felt like a new age of Persona considering the old generation titles, and geared toward a personal quest of curiosity, as well as crafted around the player's liking, even though it can leave you in the dark sometimes. You don't know what's behind that door, and honestly, sometimes that's a good thing. The experience is a lot more mysterious, and it's up to you to pull that evoker's trigger. Although there's still a bit of 2022 left and Kana may not be the very last video game I complete, it's a very nice one to end off on. It's games like these that truly push the envelope of what an indie game is defined as. The art design was honestly out of this world. The lush landscapes and amazing nature were some of the best environments I'd seen in gaming, especially on the PlayStation 5. I got lost so many times, which for gameplay purposes ended up bugging me after a while, but I truly didn't mind it at first because, God, it felt like an animated film the whole time. Straight out of a Pixar flick. Ember Lab did a great job, and the story felt homely and comfortable, adding to the general serenity of the game. The only real criticisms I have were mainly quality of life. There's still some level of fast travel, but having to go to a shrine was annoying at times when I'm already going to leave there anyway. Also, something like a small compass in Skyrim to direct where you're going would have been awesome, because I personally had a little bit of trouble directing where I was going in correlation to the point that I'm trying to go to. Combat-wise, there was a few bosses that spawned little enemies, and although they gave you small boost in rot confidence, they really just got annoying after a little while, but don't let that take away from how fun this combat is. If this says anything, my accuracy is horrible, and I still had a ton of fun with the bow and bomb gameplay. It truly made the game so fun to engage in. Also, a little personal thing, amazing use of the adaptive triggers. I love games that utilize them, and Kana did it amazingly. It really deserved the Indie Game Award that it got, and the environment, quality, combat, and story really do show why. The story took a little bit to pick up, but after a little while, it really roped me in. It's very emotional, and it's kind of hard to realize that at first. And honestly, the little Christmas touches that it added, very nice. So, out of all these games that I've played, what would I consider my game of the year? Well, I mean, I was gonna do something funny here since I thought God of War Ragnarok was gonna win game of the year, but, I mean, this clip from my friend John's stream should really just say it all.
I told you.
Goosebumps.
Shush. Wait,
Elden
really?
Ring. Yeah, Elden Ring won.
Wait, what did it win? Did it win Game of the Year?
We did it, baby.
It won Game of the Year.
We did it, Casey. We did it. Miyazaki did it. We did it, baby. Miyazaki
Elden
did
Ring won. Elden Ring.
Wait, Casey.
Yeah. Elden Ring. Elden Ring.
My game of the year is definitely the game of the year. And rightfully so, baby, let's go! I mean, Elden Ring made me a Souls player and toppled the competition. As much as I'd want to say Pokemon's my game of the year, dude, Elden Ring just knocked it out of the park. So good. Miyazaki went ham on this game. The amazing combat, lore, direction, art, music, it was just so good. If you're looking to feel accomplishment and get a crazy rush from the simplest boss, Elden Ring is the way to go. A steep challenge worth seeing through to the end. Wow, 20 games. I really played a lot. Wow. Before I leave off, here's some games that I started this year but either stopped midway through or kinda just started once and didn't relaunch. Ghost of Tsushima, Scarlet Nexus, Persona 4 Golden, Shin Megami Tensei 5, Sonic Frontiers, Cyberpunk 2077, Gravity Rush, Bayonetta 2, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, Persona 1 Revelations, both Persona 2 games, Pokemon Black, a replay of the whole Final Fantasy VII Remake on PlayStation 5, and finally, a replay of the original Kingdom Hearts 1. I will get to these eventually, but overall, I didn't get far enough into these to truly voice my thoughts and opinions on them just yet. There's still just too much potential for love to be shared on these, or to be completely ignored. But 2023 games are looking hot, and I can't tell you when my tears are going to cry because of the tears of the kingdom, my guy. Like, come on.
Man, I really need to touch grass.
It's revolutionary.
That's better. Gaming, as I've always said, is very important to me. It's my main stress reliever and a way to kind of escape for a little while. As much as I've been positive, this year has definitely had its me obtaining the Rivers of Blood in Elden Ring and me confused as to why that Pokemon character's Pokemon looks like it's penis. But through the ups and downs, there's always these amazing experiences lying behind this screen. And to be honest, this year I'd love to keep track of everything. I mean, I beat my first Souls game, I got a PS5, 2 Pokemon games? That was kind of cool. Well, in my opinion, sometimes rage does have a payoff. I mean, look at Elden Ring. Look at Estelle. I hated that boss. And even still, gaming achievements can give you that little boost of dopamine to just keep you going a little bit, you know? Well, video games, huh? I really hope you all had an amazing year and you're looking forward to the entirety of the amazing games coming next year. So, as I close this year, I wish you luck on whatever journey you're pursuing right now. A Merry Christmas to all, and to all, a hopefully very successful all-nighter. I'll see you in the next one.